Hi, my name is Abby Halloran, and I'm planning on doing a series of videos on Embird 2023, and I will be focusing primarily on the editor portion of the program. And today's video is going to include the initial installation and setup of Embird. I've been using Embird since the mid 1990s and feel I'm fairly proficient with Embird. And so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you need to do is go to the Embird website, www.embird.com, and go down to the downloads page and download the installation file for for the program. And you need to put it either on your desktop, you can put it in your downloads folder, you just need to put it somewhere where you can find it easily. I have mine on an external hard drive, so I'm going to go to my file manager and I'm going to click on my external hard drive and I have a folder called Embird. And as you can see, I've had numerous versions of Embird throughout the years. And so I'm going to click on my 2023 folder and I have installed this previously, so I have a KLC password. I cannot reuse my registration number, so I can't demonstrate how to install that. So I'm going to double click on my Embird setup. And so I have a user menu here that's asking me if I want to allow Embird to make a change to my computer. So I'm going to click yes. And then it's going to ask me what language I want to have it installed in. And there's about 8 or 9 different languages here that you can choose. I'm going to leave it at the default of English. So I'm going to click OK. And then it asks me if I want to accept the terms of the license or I do not accept the terms of the license. I'm going to click I accept. And this area is where the license is contained, and you can scroll through and read it. And so I'm not going to do that right now. And it's going to tell me that it's going to install the program on my C drive under Program Files, and it will be called Embird 64. So I'm going to click on Install. And it's running the installer. It's telling me that my installation was successful and that I can click on the icon to begin running it. So I'm going to click OK. And so I'm going to close this window here. And then when you look at your desktop, you will have 5 icons. One is for the actual Embird program where you will find the manager, the editor, and your Studio and Sufamato plugins. Then you have your Embird clip image and Embird quick launch or searcher, Embird quick searcher, Embird spider, and your uninstall. I don't like a lot of things on my desktops, and these are just shortcuts to those programs. So I usually just um, select all of these and I drag them up and put them in my recycle bin. Now that doesn't mean I deleted them from my program, because if I go to my applications and I open all my apps and I scroll down to Embird, it will show that it's right here. If I double click on it, it shows that I have the Embird clip image, I have the Embird quick searcher, I have the spider, and I also have the uninstall, and that is under the main header for Embird. So let's go ahead and open the program. So I'm going to click on the program. And it's asking me if I want to create shortcuts for the Embird clip image, the quick searcher, and the spider, and I do not, because I just deleted those. And I'm going to accept the terms of the license, so I click that and I click OK. And then it's asking me to activate my software, so I'm going to click that. Found my KLC password. If it hadn't found my KLC password, I would have gone to help and I would come to passwords, excuse me, I would come to help and registration, and then I would click on I have a password, no pin, and I would click that, and then I would click insert passwords from KLC file, and then it asked me to locate my password, and so it found my password, and so then I would click open, and then it would go ahead and install it. If you have a registration number and have never installed Embird before, you will receive an email with that registration number. You need to go ahead and copy it, and then you can paste that registration number right on this line right here, and then it will register the program to you. And if you see your name registered to Abby Holleran, you know that you have successfully registered your program. So I'm not going to be talking a whole lot about manager, and the program defaults to opening to manager. And it always, when you first install, it always inserts this, I don't know why it's doing that, this squirrel. So I'm going to come up to options, my first thing, and you can click on language. And right now it says that I have English selected, but if you want to change the language, there's even more options than on the initial installation. So you can click OK. And then the next option that I choose is on startup. I want to change what it launches on startup since I'm going to be primarily focusing on editor. I want it to start up in editor. So I'm going to change it from manager to editor. If you're someone who is going to be doing a lot of digitizing, you might prefer it to start up in Studio Next or Studio or Sufimano. So you can click one of those, or maybe cross stitch program, and then click OK. Then the next thing you need to do is to calibrate your display, your display, and this is because everybody's has maybe a slightly different size monitor. I'm on a laptop that's a 17.3, so my monitor is longer and narrower. So when I measure this box right here, my measurements came up at 39. I used a little sewing ruler that had millimeters on it, and I actually just placed it right up next to my screen and measured it. So I'm going to change this 40 to 39. And so now my designs, when I see them on my screen in a one-to-one setting, they will be very characteristic of the actual size that they will stitch out. So I'm going to click OK. The next thing you can do, and I'm not going to do this, you can associate your extensions. If you're very new to embroidery and you don't have very many embroidery designs, you can use this feature, but I have lots and lots of designs, and I tried running this the other night and it took over 2 hours to run, and so I'm not going to click on it. And the other way you can associate extensions is come to your file manager and scroll down to wherever you have your designs, and you can open a design. And so I'm going to open this here, and so it has HUS files in here. So I would click on one of the HUS files. I will right click on it, and then I'll go to properties, and then it's asking me, it says what type of file and what I want it to open with. And so it says to pick an app. So I'm going to click change, and I already have Embird listed as one of the default programs, but in your on your computer, if Embird's not listed as a default program, you can scroll down and it says choose an app on your PC. So click that, and then remember it installed to my C drive, and it installed under program files. And so here it is, Embird 64, and what you're looking for is down here further, and it says Embird application. So that's what you're looking for. You don't want these ones that have letters after it. So you can click on that, the Embird, and click open. And then it's going to ask you to set it as the default. And so I'm going to click that. And so now it says that whenever I have a HUS file, it's going to open with Embird. And I'm going to click apply and OK. And so then if I have other file formats, I'll try something else here, see if I can find another file format that's not a, I don't know what file format this was in. So, oh, it's a VIP. So my VIPs must already be associated with Embird. So that's how you would associate a file format. So the next option would be if you have purchased the add-on Iconizer. And what Iconizer does is it makes a small little picture, thumbnail picture. And so I'm going to go ahead and set, I do own Iconizer. So Iconizer. And the first window asks me what file types would I like Ember to open when I double click on them in a Microsoft window. I have a Viking machine, so I'm going to scroll down to, if I can find it, Hus, and also down closer to the bottom, my VIP and VP3. I do not own an Epic, so I will not click VP4. So whichever brand of machine you have, you need to know what your file extension is that works on that machine. I will probably or click DST because I know I have some of those. And so if you have like a Bernina, you might want ART, or if you have a Genome, a a Jeff or Jeff Plus. So you just need to know which ones are for your particular machine. Baby Lock, Bernina, and Brother use PES and some PECs. So, and those are for which file formats you want Ember to open. In the bottom window here, this is for which type of file formats do you want Ember to create an icon for. So I'm going to find my HUS, and I'm also going to find my VIP and VP3, and I'll scroll back up and find that DST. So I have some of those. And once you click on one of these, it automatically checks these boxes on the side. And then you can also change the height and the width of your icon, but I kind of just leave it at the default. And so you, if you're happy with that, you can click OK. If you decide you want all of them selected, you can click on Select All, Enable All, or if you don't want any and you want to turn the iconizer off, then you would remove or disable. And to turn it, you have to remove and it in both the shell integration setup and also down here on the bottom. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to ask me computer again. It's asking me if I want this program to make a change to my computer, and so I'm going to say yes. And then this little program runs to initiate my settings. And so then it says that it was successful. So then I can come over to, I forget which panel it is. It might be the right, I only do this once in a while. Oh, I want to, so it's the right panel, and I want to click on preview. And so then I also want to click on preview files. So now it shows my files that were in that folder, and now I have an icon in front of the design. So this is design E. It shows an E, and it's showing what that would look like down here in the preview file. So that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about on Manager. I don't think there was anything else. Oh, you can set your hoop size here. Um, you can change your settings from millimeters to inches in Manager. And I don't want it to automatically create a back file. And so, and what was the other one? Automatically create in document. Oh, I don't like it, and this is just a personal preference of mine. I don't like to view my last design file that I had at startup, so I'll just uncheck that. So now I'm going to go to editor, and I can go to editor by clicking on the title right here in the upper toolbar. And then you also have some quick launch buttons over here. So you have your editor, you have your studio next, you have uh, for just plain studio, and then you have your cross stitch plugin. You can open a file here, you can open from the cloud, and you can convert files up here. You can delete files from here and print. So there's a lot of functions on this toolbar that you can use. And so, but right now I'm going to go to editor because that's my main focus. And I'm going to delete this file so it's already selected. I know it's selected because it has this selection box around it. And I'm going to go to this trash can on my main toolbar. And so when I hover over it, it says delete. So this upper toolbar, these are all functions, and most of every one of these functions has a drop-down menu that opens when you click on it. And in my next video, I went over all of these different functions, but I would say about 90 to 95% of the functions in these drop-down menus you can find either on this main toolbar right here or on the design toolbar right here. These are your rulers, and as you change your hoop size, and there is an icon right here for hoop, and when you hover over it, so if I change my hoop size, and I'm going to select this Baby Lock Brother Viking hoop right here, when I hover over it, it does give me an enlarged print of which one I'm selecting, so I said I wanted it in a vertical position, so I clicked the little circle in front of it. If I wanted it in a horizontal position, I clicked the word horizontal, and now it's telling me I selected the same hoop in a horizontal. So I'm going to click OK, and as I click OK, you can see that my rulers have now changed, and they do reflect the actual size of this hoop. So I'm going to go primarily over the functions under the File menu. And so to open a new design, I can click File and I can click New. And since I didn't have a design in here, so I'll pick one. Okay, this is the next thing we need to address. This Open Files panel pops up, and you can either open your file directly from here, and I'm not accustomed to using this. So if you have your, like I don't have my designs on a desktop, so a lot of these things don't pertain to me. So I just click where it says show this screen when opening files. I unclick that and then I click skip. If you want to open from here, you can, but I don't particularly care for that. And so it's asking me to open a file. So I'm going to go to my E folder because that's where I keep mine. And so I'm going to go down to this, let's scroll down a ways. I'm looking for my fish folder. And then I'm going to open that, and then I will open and so now because I opened an initial design within Embird, it was able to put it in the appropriate size hoop. So that's how you can open a file. You can also open a new file from the toolbar right here. There's this little white page with the corner turned down. So if I click that, my fish is going to go away. And then I go over to the next icon and I click open and I can pick my fish again. So if I wanted to, I picked a different one, but if I wanted to open maybe a second file and combine it with this fish, I do not want to open a file again because if I do that and I click a different fish, it's going to replace the first fish. So in order to open more than one file, you must use the merge feature. And so I'm going to merge a second design or a third design or however many designs you want to put in this hoop. So there I now have my two fish and they're swimming side by side. So that's how you add additional designs to your hoop is through the merge feature. And you can get to merge here on the toolbar, or it is also under merge in your drop-down menu. It both work exactly the same. So once you've opened a file, you'll have this open recent things that you opened recently will start compiling in here. And so you can look here to see what you've recently used. And also, once you save a design, it will show up here. And so it is sometimes extremely helpful because when you open the first design, the program keeps that design as the main design, and when you merge a second design, it doesn't add a second design up here. It's only showing the first design. So if I was to save this design and let's say I wanted to, I'm going to delete the blue fish in the back. And so let's say I wanted to save this guy. It's still showing me the save number for the first fish. And if I should use the save icon here, it would overwrite the fish I previously had here. And I don't want to use this. So I try not to ever use the save feature. I have been burned by it more than once. And it just happened to me yesterday. And I should have listened to my self. So what you would want to do is use save as, and then you can, once you save as, you can select what file format that you need to save for your machine. And so like if you have a baby lock Bernina or brother, you may want to use a PEC or PES. If you have a FAF, they have, I think PCS may be their most common one. And I have a Viking, so I usually pick VP3, but you can pick multiple ones and it will save the same file in multiple different formats. So I could pick my VP3, my VIP, and my HUS. And I used to own a Genome machine, so I might want to pick Genome so I can save it in both formats. And then I usually click Center in Design or Center in Hoop. And then when I'm all set, I'll click OK. And then it's going to ask me what name do I want to name this fish. And it's reverting back to that 911, which was not the correct, this is not the correct number for this fish. So I'm going to append this slightly because I don't know the number for this fish. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to name it with I'll just put another letter after it, showing that it's slightly different. It just needs a slight variation. And so then once I have that, I'm going to click and it's going to ask me, do I want to use the same name for all the different file formats I selected? And I'm going to say yes. And so now because I picked VP3, it's asking me about this color chart. And do I want to save it according to this color chart? And I usually say yes, but I don't want to have to jump through this little step every time. So I unclick this and this window pops up for just EXP, PES, and VP3. So I'm going to click OK. And so now it's going to ask me about all these different, ask me tells me my operation was completed, and then it asks me if I want to save it as a document, print it, send it to the cloud, send it to Commander, email it, zip, clipboard, and I don't want to do any of these, so I'm going to click Don't Show, and so then it's going to say has not been saved to the cloud. I don't save my designs to the cloud because I have a whole lot of designs and I do not want to pay for extra cloud space. I'd rather spend my money on buying designs and material. So I just click Don't Ask, and then usually that doesn't come back. So that's some of the initial things you need to do when you first install Embird. And then under File again, as I pointed out, you can do open recent. So now it's showing my 911A in VP3, in VIP, and also in GIF, and also in HUS. And here's the original fish. And if I click on it, you see it's a totally different fish. So that's why I needed to change the name. So then also under File, we already went through merge, and I guess you can close your programs here. I usually just use the X in the upper corner, and you have your Save As, and then you also have the Save Selected As and Save Separated As. So that's slightly different. So I need to bring in another design. So I'm going to use my merge icon, and I will bring in another fish. And I'm going to enlarge my hoop. So I will go up to my hoop icon here. And so I'm going to use the 5x7 horizontal. And so I'll click OK. And now I'm going to separate my fish. And when I look in my objects order panel, that's this panel over here on the right, you see that I have a square around the yellow fish. This is a little icon of the yellow fish. So if I click on it, I can move my yellow fish, and I can pull him off to one side, and then I can come up and click on the blue fish, and now my selection box has moved to the blue fish, and I want to have him looking the other way. So I have this mirror icon on my design toolbar, and this mirrors horizontally, so it's going to turn my fish left or right. So I want him looking to the left, so there he goes. And so now I have my fish, but my problem is well, this is okay. I thought I'd want my seaweed in front of the yellowfish, but this is okay. So now I have these two designs in my hoop, and I should just point out that this is the actual workspace within your hoop, and the navy blue border that's around this workspace is the actual edge of the allowable workspace. So if I took this fish and I brought him right up to the edge here, this is like representing the border of your hoop. Your sewing machine would not sew this design out because your design is actually touching like the border of your hoop, and there's not enough room for your embroidery foot to go between the side of your hoop and where this design is. So it's going to tell you that this is not, that there's something outside the allowable area. And you can tell that because you have these little nodes on your selection box, and they're sitting outside this blue border here. So you need to make sure that your design is completely within the hoop. And so right now I have my two designs. And so I'm going to go to File, and then I have this um, choice of Save Selected As, and right now I just have the blue fish selected. At least I did, and I have the blue fish selected. So that is the only one, even though I have two designs in the window, that's the only one that's going to save. So I'm going to say click Save Selected As, and I'm not going to save it in all these different formats. I'm just going to save it in the VP3. Um, I'm going to want to center it in the hoop, so I'm going to click OK, and then it's going to ask me what I want to name it. And right now it's calling it Design 01. And as far as I'm concerned, for right now, that's okay. It's telling me it's going to go in my tropical fish folder, and that's fine. So I'm going to say save. And so then I could click the yellow fish, and I would also do this, repeat the same process, and click OK. And and it's calling this as Design 02, and I'm going to click Save. So then if I deleted both of these designs, I hope this works, and I come up to my Open Recent, and I see I have Design 01 and Design 02 here, and if I double click, I thought it would open in the 4x4 hoop, and it did not, and so I thought it would be centered, but it did not open in the correct hoop. It opened in a much larger hoop. So fortunately, that did not demonstrate correctly. I should say unfortunately. So let's try the other one, just out of curiosity. And no, it did the same thing. So anyways, it will sometimes ask you which hoop, and that's probably why it didn't do it. It will ask you which size hoop you want to save in. So I'm going to bring my fish back in, and that was my first fish. And I'm going to merge the second fish. Okay, so I got my two fish now. And the next thing I want to do is the save separated as. So I have these two designs separated. And so sometimes you're working on something and you just want to save a part of it. And you have used this on occasion. So I click Save Separated As, and it's telling me that it picked this 200 by 200 hoop. Well, I know that's the wrong size hoop. So I'm going to go back to my what I call page one. Embird calls these different pages for your hoop standards. So I kind of refer to them as page one, page two, page three, page four. And I'm going to select the 100 by 100 hoop. And so I'm going to save it until it's selected or center in the hoop. And now it's appending this name. So it's calling it design 01 underscore 1. So it is slightly different. So I'm going to click. And do I want to use the same name for the yellow fish? And I'm going to say no. And so it's going to call it design 01 underscore 2. So I'm going to click save. So now I have these two fish. And so I think this is where it's going to, if I come back up to open recent, then if I click on design 01 number underscore 2, which is the yellow fish, and I double ask me if I want to save this current thing, and I'm going to say no, I don't want to save it. And then it opens my yellow fish back in a 4x4 hoop. So if this had been just a part of a design that I was editing, I might want to do that and save it temporarily so that I can bring it in at a later date. So, and then you have open workspace, and I've never actually oh, this is for Embird editor file, and I have never used this, so there's nothing in here. So I'm going to cancel that and merge workspace and save workspace. And since I've never used these functions, I'm not going to go into them. And then you can do your print. And so I always print a template. And what I choose is print template without text. And so if you're running a business, you may want all this additional information when you print your template. So you can even put a QR code on it. So you can set a price. You can add the date that you created the design. You could add a design image. You can make a job card. You can add a thread list. You can add sources, show hoop, show floating stitches or jumps. You can show fabric in a 3D drawing. You can show the begin stitch. You can have an enhanced line drawing, scale it 1 to 1, just do contours, and then you have different ways that you might want to print the design. And so I usually print it in normal because I'm a home embroiderer. I do not run a business. I only embroider for family and friends. So I put normal because that's going to use the least amount of ink. I do like it scaled to 1 to 1 because I want my design to be of actual size when I um, print out my template. I do want to show the begin, and I do want to show the hoop. I do not need the source. I don't care about the date personally or any of this other information. Now, since this is a design that has about 7 different colors in it, I might want to add the thread list, but most often, before I even print this, I have already chosen my threads and I know exactly what color threads I want and I know what order they're going to sew in, so I don't uh, print the thread list because I'm just trying to save ink. And so I click OK, and then it asks me what printer I'm going to print this on. And I have a Brother, and I also have a Hewlett Packard. And so my Hewlett Packard's in my sewing room. So I'm going to click that one, and then I will click OK. And then it shows me this preview page, and it's going to show me exactly where it's going to print on this. If I don't want it in the corner, I can click on the little image and I can move it somewhere else on the page. Or if I want to add, um, maybe I have a lot bigger hoop and I have multiple designs, I can move them around in here. And so um, it's it's this black, heavy black outline around the fish that is um, demonstrating the blue border um, within your stitchable area here. This is the border, so that's the same border here. And then you have a some guidelines here, crosshairs. So this is representing the center of the hoop vertically and the center of the hoop horizontally. And I don't know if I can zoom in on this. No, I can't. But there is a little bold, um, like double printing here. So the line is a little heavier. And so that's showing you the exact center of your hoop. And if you're happy with everything, you click OK and it'll go ahead and print out. Then what I do when I have my printout, I will cut out this template all the way around on that black line, and I will place it either on my garment or whatever I'm embroidering on, a towel or a jacket or whatever, and I place it exactly where I want it, and I make sure that it's straight, it's not running uphill or downhill, and I take some painter's tape and I tape a piece of painter's tape on just a small piece on all four sides. You don't need to go the entire length. And then once I have it taped to my item that I'm going to embroider, I then hoop my item, and you can hoop several different ways. You can use sticky stabilizer, or you can actually hoop within the hoop, or um, if you're using a magnetic hoop, you may want to float it. But I use these guidelines to make sure that my design is going to be within the allowable stitchable area of the hoop. So on my plastic hoops, I have those little bumps that show you where the center is horizontally, and also the little bumps where it shows you where the um, vertical center is. And on my stabilizer, I'll take a ruler and I will draw this ruler, a line on my stabilizer, both horizontal and vertically. And then I try to line up my horizontal and vertical lines with those little bumps. And obviously, if you're not going to get right up next to them. So that's why I use the lines on the stabilizer to help me keep things straight, and also um, both vertically and horizontally. And once I have it all hooped and I'm happy with it, then I load the design into my embroidery machine and I put my hoop on my arm, and then I will use the centering feature. I can find the center of my design with my machine, and I use my hand wheel and I'll bring the needle down, and I want to see how close the needle is to going through this, right through this intersection in the center. And usually I'm fairly close. I might be a few stitches off one way or the other. And if I am, then I just use the um, buttons where I can nudge my um, hoop a little bit either to the left or to the right. And I keep doing that either up or down until my needle is going to pierce directly through the center of this crosshair. Then I remove this template and I um, proceed with embroidering my design from that point. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything under file. Um, and so I hope you stay tuned for my next video. It's going to include going over all the other drop down menus in um, this upper toolbar, and showing some of the most of the icons on the main toolbar and the design toolbar. And I do go over using the objects order panel a little bit, and so it's a longer video than this, but I think you'll gain a lot of information. I hope to do some shorter videos on just editing designs and moving stitch points and combining designs. So I hope you stay tuned for those. I hope you have a good day. Bye.